Hi friends, I'm going to make this a super duper quick video because a friend of mine, I told her that I started making these paper beads, and I'm not very good at it yet because honestly these are the first ones that I've made, and so I'm still trying to get my technique down, and it takes a lot of practice. So these aren't all the best looking beads. I am getting better at it. This is what I've made so far. So let me just tell you really quick. These little guys right here are made out of magazines. I haven't done anything to them other than just cut the strips. This is sprayed paper, just sprayed copy paper with homemade sprays, sprayed copy paper, magazine pages. Magazine pages, magazine pages, magazine, sprayed paper. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what it looks like. So if you get a magazine like this, was mainly black and white, it had a little bit of red border around some of the page, but you get this really nice black and white. It was just white page with black writing on it. This one, you know, had a little bit more design on it. So it just depends. This was a really nice Hyatt Regency ad, and it had some purples in it, and you just get a really nice coloring on the beads, and that's just a magazine page. I didn't do anything to alter it. Okay, these were sprayed, so they're shimmery and glimmery and really pretty. And by cutting the paper different sizes, you get different sized beads. Okay, so I'm going to show you really quick how I cut it and then how I roll it. And this is, you know, I hope that you guys can get some benefit out of this, but my friend really wants to start making them, but she's kind of lost in the process, so I told her that I would just explain it really quick on here so she has a little bit of a reference as to what I'm doing. So I've cut some strips, and these are making those little ball, these ones right here, these are the exact beads that I'm making with these strips. So this is the size that it's making right here. So that's what I'm working on right now with these. So maybe this gives you a little bit better idea of the size. Now you'll see YouTube videos where they coat these with Mod Podge or fingernail polish. I'm not doing any of that. Okay, I'm just using paper and glue. I'm not going to coat these because what I'm using these for right now is to put on my little dangles that I'm making. I just wanted something that looked a little bit more mixed media, and something that I handmade to go along with those dangles that I'm making. So that's why I started making these. So these are the strips that I've already cut out. This is the paper that I sprayed. It was just 8.5 by 11 inch paper. Okay, and you'll also see people, they measure it. They get out their ruler and they measure their little marks on both ends. I don't do that because I think that it just takes too much time. And I don't need my beads to be that perfect. It's not that detrimental to me that if they're a little off, because even if you buy beads, they're not that perfect. I kind of like the imperfection. I'm trying to move my camera back enough to where you can get the whole view of my cutter. That's probably as good as it's going to get. Okay, so this is how I cut it. So my cutter's down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up at my quarter mark. I'm going to put this up on my computer so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this is my gutter. This is my gutter of my cutter, right? I'm going to go over to the right side, and this is my quarter mark right here. So I'm going to put the edge of my paper there at my quarter mark, and then at this end, the opposite end of my cutter, I'm going to put the paper just a hair over the gutter. So now I'm holding the entire sheet of paper so that it doesn't move. okay? I'm holding it in place. I'm gonna flip this down and I'm gonna cut all the way to the end. And so now I've got this tapered piece of paper. It starts at 1/4 inch on this end and it tapers all the way down to nothing. So now I'm gonna leave my cutter up at this end and I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna make this end go to my 1/4, okay? And this end is gonna go just a hair over my gutter. I'm gonna hold it in place, put it down, and go down. Now you don't wanna push down really hard because this is just copy paper and it'll crinkle up. So just go lightly and cut it down to nothing. So now I've got another strip that starts at 1/4 inch on this end and it tapers down to nothing. So now my blade is down at this end again. So I'm gonna match it up to 1/4 down here and just over my gutter. And the reason you go over your gutter is so that it goes all the way to the end. If you just put it right on the gutter, it's gonna cut before it gets to the end. So just go a hair over your gutter. Hold it, put it down, and lightly cut down. Now if it doesn't cut to a perfect triangle down and it's more, sorry, I've got that weird shadow again. Let me see if I can eliminate that. And you've got more, you know, it's not quite a triangle, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We're not into perfection. So same thing, I'm gonna do 1/4 there, a hair over my gutter, hold it, and slice. So wherever my blade ends is where I'm gonna put it at 1/4. That's how I remember what end I need to put at my 1/4 mark. Now this is for the round beads. Now if you simply want to make your beads wider, then you just make this wider. Okay, I don't necessarily want to do it to this paper because I guess it really doesn't matter. So if I want to make a wider bead, you know, you might want to come up here and use the marks that you've got up here. So if I want to make, that was 1/4, so if I want to make a 1/2 inch bead, I would just simply put my mark at 1/2 inch and just over my gutter. Down here, hold it in place and cut. And so now it starts at 1/2 inch down here and ends at a triangle here. Okay, so my blade is now down at this end, so I need to put my mark at 1/2, or my paper at the 1/2 inch mark at this end, just over my gutter at the opposite end, and cut. If it doesn't go all the way down, that's fine. No worries at all. Just keep going. I'm going to put my inch papers over there. I like to cut it all and then start rolling. Now if it's, oops, I just did that one at 1/4. If it's easier for you to use a ruler and to mark your paper and to cut it with scissors, or if you don't have a cutter, then by all means do it that way. I just find this way to be faster and easier for me. See, that one I didn't line up in the gutter, but that's okay. You just keep going. Every once in a while, I'll even get a paper crinkled up in there, and I just simply toss it away. And keep on going. Okay, so that's enough. That's how you do the paper. I'm I'm sure there's a zillion other ways and fancy designs that you can use. Now I have these tools. I got them on eBay. I got them on Etsy. I'll put a link to this site if you want to purchase the set that I got. They're like right around $10.99 or something. You get a set of 4 or 5, and the barrels of them to make the holes for your beads are different sized. Okay, this is the second to the smallest, and it gives you a 5, I don't know. I had to wash off the glue and it kind of took off the size of the hole, but that's the size hole that it gives you. And then there's one smaller, and then they go up to be really big. So this is the way I roll it. Now you might have to come up with whatever works best for you. And I played around with a bunch of different hand positions, and this is just what I came up with for the best position for me. So I have the back side of my paper, the side that's going to be folded inside the bead. So I have my fancy side of the paper down. Okay, the side that's going to get rolled up, or the side that I'm not going to see facing me. I put, if you're going to use a toothpick or whatever you're going to use to roll it, I put it on. These are nice because it has a little groove in it, so that the paper is just easier. It like clamps in there, and then you can roll it. As soon as the paper meets each other, I hold it, I get my glue. Now you'll see some people don't, or most people, all the videos I've watched, they don't put glue until they reach the end of their bead. But I put glue pretty much all the way down my strip, and I'll tell you why in a second. And this fine liner is great. I don't put a lot, but I do like to have the glue. If I don't get, like, there's little beads of it here and there, if I don't get it coated all, I don't care. I just need it there. Now I hold on to the paper and I twist with this hand. Okay, I hold on to my paper and I twist with this hand. And you want it to be even. You know, it's gonna roll up, and you want this to be even on both sides, because you want this, your skinny part, to be centered in the middle as it rolls up. That's what's going to give you that rounded bead look. You want it to be symmetrical. And my first beads weren't symmetrical. It does take a little bit of practice. I've made a lot of beads, and even now not all of my beads are symmetrical, but let me tell you, it does get easier as the more you do. It just takes practice. So then your bead is going to look like that, to where it's perfectly symmetrical. So that's how you want to roll it. Now that's more of a barrel bead. Okay, so let me show you one of the skinnier pieces. So this is the 1/4 inch end. So again, I hold my tool in my right hand. So if you're left-handed, you would want to just do this opposite. So I'm going to put my tool, I'm going to roll it until the paper meets. I'm going to hold this, pinch it between my 2 fingers, put my glue down the strip, just very, very lightly, but I do want to make sure I get glue on the tip. I'm going to roll it, and I'm going to hold on to it, and to make sure that it's rolling in the center. This takes practice. I've probably made close to 300 of these over the last 3 days, and I still am having times where my beads come out wonky. I'm getting better. They are getting more even, but you want to pay attention to the middle roll and not the edges. You want to pay attention to the center And that's probably the hardest thing to train your eyes to do, is to not pay attention to the outside edges and to pay attention to the center. So see that you get this nice round, bead. Okay, the reason why I like to put glue all the way down my strip is because what I was finding is when I went to pull this off, some of them were, I was just unraveling it as I pulled. Now, one way to get away with that is don't wind it so tight. Okay, when you're, and you, at first, you know how you're just all like winding everything real tight because you're just tense. You're just like super tense when you first start doing something. You have to loosen yourself up a little bit. So it will get easier. You know how you just want to really rip tight this thing on here. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to pull it really tight. You can be really loose with it. But the reason why they only put the glue on the tip is because they're coating it with fingernail polish or Mod Podge or something like that. And since I'm not doing that, I need to make sure that my beads don't come unraveled. So I went glue all the way down the bead so that it doesn't fall apart. So just take your time. Don't get tense. And see, I didn't get enough glue on the tip of that. See how my end is poking up on me? Well, I just need to get my glue, put a little bit on the tip. And then whatever squeezes out of there, I just rub my finger and twist my tool so that it coats the outside of it. And see how I've got a little bit of glue on my finger? I just coat the outside of the bead like that so that I know that it's not going to come apart. And then I pull it off. So just try to be a little bit more laxed with yourself when you're rolling it. I know that it's hard at first because you're learning, you're trying to do so many things at once. But don't be so rough on yourself about being all tense and trying to hold this really tight. And then you get faster and faster at it. You will get better. Don't get frustrated with yourself. I was at first, you know, my first 50 beads looked really not that great. You know, just the more relaxed you are, the easier it is to kind of concentrate on getting that rolled in the center. Pay attention to your center of getting that rolled in the center of the bead, and not so much pay attention to the edges of your bead. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to train your eyes to pay attention to the center of your bead and not the edge. And then you'll get this nice round bead. Okay? And then I find that it's easier actually to start out with the smaller bead because you don't, I don't know, I just thought it was easier. Like this is the 1/2 inch. It was just easier for me to make the smaller beads. And I don't know if it's because when you're rolling this up you have more of an edge on these bigger ones. So, you know, your tendency is to pay attention to one edge, and you just have to train your eyes to keep it even in the center and not pay so much attention to your edges, and more about rolling so that everything is centered. And if some of your beads come out looking funny, they really don't look bad once you get them strung up. These ones are more noticeable because it's wider, you know, when you begin, and they get smaller. So if they're off balance, it's more noticeable because you've got more sticking out on the sides. So, okay, that's I am 100% addicted. I cannot stop. Like, it's all I want to do at this point. I totally don't want to do anything but this. I sit down at my desk and I'm like, all I want to do is roll beads. I'm having so much fun with it. And this may not look like a lot, but this is a lot of work, you guys. This has been so much work, but it's so addicting. I just love it so much. So these thicker ones are the paper going in a vertical. And then you see how these ones are so much thinner, like, whoops. See how these ones are so much thinner? These, it's magazine paper, so it's a, you know, basically the same size paper. It's just that I cut these horizontally, these vertically. So it just depends on how you cut the paper and how much you have to roll. So that's why some of them look so much different. But yeah, I love them. I love them all. These ones I really like. This was out of the magazine paper for the Hyatt Regency ad. And I just love the colors of them. I think that they are so cool. So give it a try if you haven't. Let me know if you make paper beads. And that's it. I hope you all have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And God bless. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.